Hello, welcome. I am Heather Travis, the Body Shaman, and this is Expressions of Soul Healing, Day 1. And today we are going to talk about making me time sacred. What does it mean? How do we do this? And what is the benefit of doing this, and how that both helps heal our soul, makes our soul feel whole again, and how that just permeates everywhere in our life. So it's really interesting as I was kind of putting this together and really kind of revisiting what it means to be sacred in this day and time, and coming from a place of sacredness for ourselves, not necessarily for a particular person, religion, or anything else other than ourselves. So that's what we're going to do with sacred time, is it's that reverence and respect for ourselves. And so what we do when we create me time, so this means where we take the time, the intentional time, to step out of our everyday reality, our everyday responsibilities, our everyday way of moving and flowing through life, we show ourselves respect. We show ourselves that we are worthy, that we are good enough simply because we are. And choosing to take that time and intention and focus creates a feeling of safety within our body that allows us to open up to parts of ourselves that we may not have been aware of that were there, parts of our personality and ways of being and moving through life that have either been repressed through experiences, through reprimands, through being told or shown or felt that it was just too much. And so I really love the practice of just taking 10 minutes for ourselves a day. And because 10 minutes, while it might seem a lot when you are crazy busy, overwhelmed, we can make 10 minutes in our day, because we can bring that sacredness into things that we already do until we feel comfortable with really carving out that time. So the idea of taking a shower, or taking a bath, or doing dishes sacred time, right? Like, there are ways that we can weave that in to how we already move through life, but because we are doing it in a different way and we are doing it with sacredness, it becomes me time. And if that, but for some people, it's still too much like their day-to-day life, right? So sometimes you have to literally stop everything for 10 minutes. Maybe it's that first 10 minutes after the baby goes down. Maybe it's that first 10 minutes in the morning before you get started in the day. Maybe it's after you sent everybody off to school, but before you get started on everything that you have on your to-do list to do at home, right? There are ways, places, and times that we can carve out that 10 minutes for ourselves. And then we get to start to create and shift and build new rituals and routines for ourselves in those 10 minutes. And so that's what they were going to do over these next 10 days. Is we're going to change our focus, change our intention, shift our ritual just a little bit, so that we create building blocks, so that these can be the most powerful 10 minutes of your day. And I think the other really important piece to be mindful of and be aware of is intention. The power of intention in every part of our life, but specifically within these 10 minutes. Like, that giving yourself permission, not from anybody else, but from within, to put all of your time, energy, intention, and focus on yourself is the best gift that you can ever give yourself. Is it always going to be comfortable? No. for a variety of different reasons. And then there are going to be times where it's just absolutely beautiful, right? Like there is like every part of our life that ebbs and flows and all of these different things that happen. These little me time rituals aren't any different in the sense that we show up to them wherever we are that day, right? And so there are going to be some days where we can literally just set everything away really super easy and be really present and um and be all in. And then there are going to be some days where it's a struggle. So like that idea that some days 10 minutes are going to fly and other days 10 minutes are going to feel like an eternity. And again, it doesn't matter where you are on your process. Like you could have been somebody that is just really starting to carve out that time, or somebody so far along, right? Like that it feels like it should be super easy. But then we go to the other end of the spectrum where we get lost in the ability to be present and to be focused and like how we move in this way. But we still get into this flow and comfort and things like that that come from um a place that's a little too far the other way sometimes, where we lose track of time, we lose track of what it really means to be present, um and to be living in this life, um but also like recognizing, like, again, everybody's experience in life and what it means to live is a little bit different as we go through different phases of our life, right? So, you know, being able to first and foremost take stock of what is important to you right now, because that is what's going to make this time your time, and what will feel the most nourishing to you. So because it doesn't matter, you can be religious, you can be spiritual, or you can just be you showing up here for the sake of being present with yourself. And what we really really want to do in these 10 minutes and showing up for ourselves and with ourselves is to teach ourselves how to feel safe, how to feel protected, how to feel um and in some ways how to feel comfortable in the uncomfortable, how to feel comfortable in the midst of chaos, how to feel comfortable seeing all of the different aspects of ourselves, including the ones that we don't really like, or the ones that we fear for because it's different, but not because anything's good or bad. And so, what I love to do when we create this kind of me time ritual is really first and foremost, like, for this time frame is and this intention is to really take yourself out of your day to day. So create a space that is private for you. Whether you have to go behind a closed door, put a do not disturb sign on the door. I don't care if you have to make one, or get outside in nature and, um, you know, allow yourself to be immersed and supported by nature. But the idea is that you can really be by yourself. Um, and in that, we're going to then create that physical space that feels comfortable. So if you are at home, then it's going to be a matter of like getting pillows or cushions or a yoga mat or a chair, or a blanket. Like, what's going to make your body feel held? What is going to make your body feel comfortable? Um, and then it's also going to be a matter of like, do you have crystals, that can help with your focus. Um, and I'll get a little bit more into that when we get to tools, but like it's really that physical space. So if you are outside, like finding a place that you can stop and lean up against a tree or lay on the ground or like whatever you need to do for your body to feel safe and held and to allow it to relax, because that's what we want to do, to teach the nervous system to calm down and to relax. We have to teach and give our bodies opportunities to do that outside of sleeping. And then we get to add on the tools, right? So then we get to really like crystals or getting some essential oils or anything that is really helps you focus, getting paper, pen, art supplies. Like there's it is endless because we all have different tools and different ways of expressing ourselves and um, different ways of focusing our attention. And so allowing you to find one that is going to do that. Um, but just being mindful like that it's not anything that it has, so it's not a book, it's not music, it's not listening to somebody else's meditation in this particular time, because you want to be able to listen to yourself. So crystals and essential oils, they do have their own vibration and soothing and all, like they do interact with your system, but they're not overriding your system. They work with your system in ways that books and music and things, and it's the way that it interacts with the brain compared to the body. And so what we are doing in this practice as well is creating a bit of homeostasis between the brain and the body. So in doing so, it's finding those external tools and those external things and places and support items that are going to allow you to feel really held. So once we've gotten our space, gathered our tools, then we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. So again, the idea of this is that we really are present with ourselves, but that we are also teaching ourselves to honor our boundaries, right? So if we say 10 minutes, then it's 10 minutes, and we're not getting completely lost in the flow. And so we're gaining that self-trust that we can honor our own boundaries that we set for ourselves. Because sometimes when things feel really good, like especially those days where you're feeling really relaxed and feeling really good, like we want to take it even further. And there are times and places for that. But when we're doing things on a consistent base and we're building that ritual and routine, like honoring that time that we set for ourselves. And, in the future, maybe it's a 20-minute, maybe it's a 30-minute, but honoring whatever time that is. So for this practice, it's going to be 10 minutes. And then you're going to get yourself comfortable in the space. So you've got all of your tools. Now you actually start the timer. So part of the process is allowing your body to unwind and get comfortable in the space. Right. And so hitting the timer and then settling in. Right. Then putting your different supports, working out the little kinks, stretching, moving what feels like it needs to be moved until the body feels like it settles. And once we are settled, then it's really just all about noticing. So we're bringing all of our awareness to the present moment, to what is happening in the now. What do we feel in our body? What do we notice? And teaching ourselves to not force anything. Right. And so this can be very tricky when we first get started because we feel like we should be experiencing, we feel like something should be happening. Right. And even like when you get further down the path and things can happen, you feel like things should still happen. Right. And so it's just, again, that's where we honor showing up with ourselves every day with however we are showing up with ourselves. And the idea is that we're really just going to notice every little thing, right? We're going to be present with our thoughts, but without being that hyper focused, right? So we're not going to get caught up on why we're having the thoughts. We're not going to get caught up in what the thoughts mean. It's just being aware, like, we have this thought. So, um, like, I can look over, like, I need to make my bed. Okay. So, like, that's the thought. I don't have to get up and make my bed. I don't have to think about what I need to do to make my bed. I simply have that thought that I need to make my bed, and I let the thought go. And then it's, noticing, like, as the longer that you sit there, do you feel like you need to move the body again? Right. And is that thought for that to move, is that coming from your head because it's just uncomfortable being there? Or is it that your body is uncomfortable and it's telling you that it's uncomfortable and it needs to shift? And what ends up happening is we sit there and we allow ourselves to be more comfortable and more present, and we notice the emotions, we notice different sounds that are happening around us, different urges, the different desires and like, so those urges, desires and inspiration start to emerge because we're quieting the noise around us, and we're able to listen to ourselves and our bodies and our souls, and every bit of our being is here to support us in this life, and it wants to be heard, and it wants to share its wisdom and all that kind of stuff. And so we have to take the responsibility to stop and listen. And doing this, so taking this time, making ourselves comfortable, and really allowing ourselves to come into that space where we can hear ourselves, like the reverence of that, right? Like the reverence of that is pretty, again, like the it's such a simple ritual, but the depths with which we can go to ourselves in even just that 10 minutes. Because what also happens is, like, the more that we practice and the more that we build this muscle, right, the more we start to get just very clear messages from our body, because we start second guessing ourselves. We stop trying to make more than what it is, right? Because so often when we can get to that point, the body is very, and the soul and, the universal, I guess, it's really clear with the messages that it sends. Our brains and our um, modern day way, like, we just want to overthink and overanalyze and, like, make so much more out of things than it really is. And so as you continue to sit there, I always encourage people to return to their breath. So it's just, when you start to get uncomfortable, breathe. Bring all of your attention and your awareness to your breath. Feel what it feels like to breathe into your body. And it has a lot of physiological effects, right? Like, it calms the vagus nerve, and it does release different chemicals in the brain, and it, like, brings fresh oxygen, right? It's like there's a lot of physiological things that happen with your body. And it's a pause, right? Because, like, the breath is the one thing that you can take anywhere. It's free. And then bringing that into this ritual, right? And when you are in this process of really focusing on yourself, the breath also is another tool that gives your conscious mind something to focus on, so that you can, listen a little deeply, a little bit more, a little deeper to what wants to come through for you. And I love that we can take all of these different practices and these different ideas and ideologies and concepts that feel so woo woo or new agey or witchy or whatever term, right? Like, that has been put on it to ostracize it. and like make it manageable, make it real, make it tangible, because it is in so many ways. It's just which sense do we need to open up for it to be tangible for us? And so literally that is the rest of your 10 minutes, being present, breathing, allowing yourself to move when you feel called to move, write something down when you feel called to write down, especially if it's relevant to whatever intention that you may have set for the day. In your intention, like when you get into your quiet place and you set your intention, you make yourself comfortable. Your intention can simply to be with yourself and let whatever comes through come through. If you've got something pressing going on in your life, if you want to deal with anxiety, if you want to deal with pain in your body, if you want to deal with frustrations, things not working or happening the way that you want them to, right? Like you set the intention of like, either I want to understand this, or um but it's getting into that curiosity at what's behind this, or well, what do I need to shift, what needs to shift, right? Like, so it's being very open to the entire process. And then when you are done, making sure that you end with love. End with love. And this love is our love for ourselves. And we express that love through gratitude. So, speaking kindly to ourselves, speaking words of love to ourselves, thanking our body for holding us, thanking ourselves for creating the space. It's learning to open up that heart center and just send out love to ourselves, right? You might want to give yourself a hug. What feels nourishing, what feels comfortable, and what feels like it's coming from that place of love for yourself that you need in the moment, right? Because as we learn to trust ourselves, as we learn to set our boundaries, reinforcing that with love through touch, through sound, we're creating new neural pathways in our body. We're creating new positive reinforcements in our belief system. And we're showing our soul that it is worthy simply as it is. And then we create this pattern for it to feel more safe and safe to continue to show up for you, with you. And so I invite you today to take those 10 minutes for yourself. And then I'd love to hear, how it resonated with you. What came through? What was easy? What was hard? Right? Because that's the process, right? And recognizing, like, if it's too easy, why is it too easy? Are you actually being present? Is everything in life too easy? If it's hard, are you making everything in life hard? Or are you overthinking it, right? There's that happy middle ground with all of this, right? Because even in simplicity, even in finding ease, there is that discomfort and growth. And so, in the simplicity of this practice, the more present, the more that we shift these each little nuances throughout, it's where we're able to find that growth. We're able to take ourselves to that next level for us in what it feels like to be human on this earth in this life. Thank you very much. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow for Day 2,